morning, everyone, and thanks for joining. We were just waiting for Sam to join. I think we wanted to kickstart at exactly 10 past. I think we're good to go. I think what I'll do at this juncture, I'll officially start the webinar. My name is Takudzwa Muradzi. I'm the Corporate Sales Manager, and I'm going to be the moderator for this webinar in particular. And joining me on the panel, I have Colin Nyoni, who's our pre-sales engineer at Dandemutande. And again, on the line, I have Wesley Ryan, who is the product and lead solutions for Redvine, and he's going to be part of this conversation this morning. Pretty much we want to delve into how SDWAN is changing enterprise networking. And maybe if you can just allow me to lay a bit of some groundwork or foundation to our conversation this morning. I think we all agree that as businesses expand, we have this huge task that we have of managing our connections, of managing our links. And across all this, we have this challenge that we need to offer a reliable solution to our internal customers. And as such, this is where SD-WAN and some of these emerging broadband connections would come into play. So just to define the acronym of SD-WAN, it basically means software-defined wide area network. I'm just saying this for the benefit of others like me who are not technical. And one would also want to describe SD-WAN as a software-defined approach of managing wide area networks. So with that, please allow me to just touch a bit on some interesting data or statistics that might excite us as we get into this conversation. So the number one fact that we have realized on the market is that the SD-WAN market is on a rapid rise, where we expect it to grow to about 4.5 billion by the end of 2024. Another fact that we also need to appreciate is the fact that enterprises are able to do cost savings of up to about 40% of their costs that is related to connectivity. And I'm sure to some of our colleagues who report to finance people, IT directors, who report to finance directors, you appreciate that this will be a very good conversation starter if you start talking about cost savings and cost reduction. So 75% reduction can be achieved in terms of downtime. So you're actually able to achieve reliable connections if you roll out an SD-WAN solution within your business. Then last but not least, organizations are also able to streamline network operations and also improve application performance. I'm sure we all agree that a lot of people are going into the cloud, and there is also need to make sure that we don't compromise the user experience whenever we are trying to access those applications that are in the cloud. So moving over, I would also want to state this before I introduce the panelists to take over the floor, to say there has been a concern of about 57% where IT experts or network engineers complain around issues to do with failover and redundancy and quality of links. And I'm sure we all agree that there has been an advent of new broadband solutions that are cost-effective, that are cheap. Some of them, they are coming through satellite. Some of them, they are our normal LTE, fiber broadbands. But I think most of us have been hesitant to adopt those links into our corporate space because we know that they do not offer that good quality of service that we want. So if you are to introduce SD-WAN, you are able to maximize on those links and be able to use such links into what we call high-grade connectivity connections for business. So at this juncture, colleagues, before I hand over to Colin, who's going to take us through what SD-WAN is, the topology, and what we are also doing at Dandemutande, please feel free to drop your comments, your questions in the chat box. I'll make sure that the engineers behind the scenes allow people to do that. What we want to do, we want to make this conversation a bit engaging so that we have more time to discuss and have use case scenarios that we can actually attribute to this SD1 solution that we're about to discuss. Colin, can you please walk us through the presentation?
Okay. Thanks, Taku, and hi to everyone. So to start off, Taku, I'll start off from what is Dandemutande. Probably to some of our viewers, they don't really know what Dandemutande is. So allow me to start from there. Sorry about that. That is coming through. So Dandemutande is the third largest internet access provider in Zimbabwe, mainly focusing on the B2B business. Right. And as an organization, our vision is to become the most admired technology solutions partner. That is why we are always trying to keep up to date and up to scratch with emerging technologies. And that's why we're having this discussion today around SD1. Also, our purpose as a business, our purpose is to transform African industries using our cutting edge technologies, also digital solutions, in achieving whatever they need to achieve as a business, ICT related ones. So all this is underpinned by our promise, our service charter, our service promise to our customers, which we call care. Yes, we do care for our customers. That's why we call it care, but it comes with the confidentiality, accountability, responsiveness, and empathy. And also our belief as an organization is that technology determines the success of any progressive business. Looking into our customer profile, just on a high level, we deal with financial institutions, we deal with major retailers, large corporations, and our diplomatic embassies, just to mention a few. Right. Then branch-wise, our branches in Zimbabwe, we are HQ'd in Harare. We've got a branch, another branch in Harare, Avondale. We've got a branch in Bulawayo, Kwekwe, Mutare, and of late, just recent, we did launch a branch in Beitbridge. Right. Regionally, we're expanding. We are also present in South Africa, Botswana, Malawi, of late, Namibia, and also we are working towards Zambia as well. So what we've done, Taku, with our services or our product and solution profile, we have divided them into 5 pillars. Right. So we've got the cloud pillar, which purely deals with our cloud services, where we are saying the virtual private servers will give you that, the co-location, disaster recovery as a service, backup as a service, you name it, under the cloud portfolio. Then value-added services is also one of those pillars, where we're offering VoIP, managed IT, then our technical solutions, with the latest one where we're taking laptops. But then also we've got a pillar for hardware, where we are able to provide our customers or clients with ICT-related hardware equipment. Here we're talking of your routers, your switch, up to your toners and cartridge. Right, security-wise, we also do offer network perimeter files. We are also proud to say we are a platinum partner with Sophos, which gets us to enjoy, that's the highest tier rather, so it gets us to enjoy huge discounts, which will also cascade through our clients, which means our pricing is always competitive in the market. Right. Then also we've got a state-of-the-art TAPU, which that's our security operations center, which we've just launched, which does monitoring in real time, 24/7, of not only our infrastructure as Dandemutande, but our client infrastructure as well. Right. Then we also do other security vulnerability assessments and penetration testing, just to test how good and how secure is your network. We do that as a service. Then also cybersecurity awareness. You know, the weakest link in any organization are the users. So we need to conscientize them. We need to make them aware of how to navigate or how to play around whilst you're on the internet. Right. Then moving to the last pillar, Tapu, which we are going to be talking more of today, is the connectivity. We do offer connectivity service through various technologies. we've got our fiber, we've got the satellites, we've got the wireless. On the wireless, we've got an LTE network, which we have also expanded of late. We've got now services in Kwekwe, not to mention Redcliffe, of late, then also in Beitbridge as well. Then looking at the fiber as well, our footprint, we've also rolled out 800 plus kilometers just this year of our fiber backhaul, which I'm going to be talking more in the next few slides on what is that fiber backhaul bringing to us and to our clients, which is all about the rare blue diamond. Right. So the rare blue diamond, what is this all about? Why is it rare? Yes, it's blue, but why is it rare? That's the question. So this ray comes through what it delivers to our clients. So there's a reliability, availability, robustness, and efficiency that comes about with our connectivity. So moving on further down, if I may dive down. Right. This ray blue diamond is built through a network resilience, right? It's built through network resilience. What am I saying? We've got diverse routes into Zimbabwe, obviously out as well, multiple paths, which ensures your data as our clients travels reliably. If one path fails, we always have another path to take you out to the internet. Then we've got multiple data centers, like I've highlighted on the previous slide, to say we've got data centers. So these multiple data centers speak to each other, which brings and eliminates that single point of failure, keeping your businesses connected. Then the seamless failover, which comes again without multipath as well, automatic rerouting of traffic, which guarantees continuous internet, even if one path fails. So also the DNA of the rare blue diamond is its optimized performance accelerators. It comes with these optimized performance accelerators. This is our Google Cache, our peerings. We've got peering with NAP Africa. You know, the Google Cache, obviously, there is an advantage to our customers because already whatever content they're accessing is also cached here. So next time one wants to connect or get to that content, they don't necessarily have to go to those servers in the United States or wherever, right? So there's faster loading times for storing frequently accessed content locally. Then there's the optimized bandwidth cost plus the unwavering reliability. This is the consistent access to critical content, which I was talking about, minimizing disruption of the business operations. Then the peerings now, we are saying we've got accelerated cloud performance with that. Seamless connectivity or connections to leading cloud service providers. You are talking of your AWS, your Microsoft Azure, your Google Cloud platforms, which means there is enhanced speeds to get to there. Dedicated connection by bypassing congested routes through this peering that we have, we ensure faster and more reliable data transfers. If we can go down to the agenda, the business of the day, yes, right? That's the SDWAN. Yes, please. So that's what we've got there is the bird's eye view of the SD-WAN architecture. So this is what the SD-WAN architecture brings out. So we've got the SD-WAN routers, which we normally call the edge devices or the edge boxes, which normally reside at a branch level or at a DC where you've got your resources to connect from. So gone are the days, Taku, where we used to have this old traditional way of WAN management, where we have, for example, a multi-branched organization. All the traffic from the branches has to go to the HQ or the DC, where we've got the firewall there managing the policies of this traffic, and then out to the internet. This has been brought about by the cloud migration. We've got this buzz about the cloud migration. Now everyone is moving to the cloud. That's where the snake came in with the traditional way of handling our WAN architectures. So from the SD-WAN routers, we've got what we call edge gateways. So which means the edge device communicates with the gateway. The gateway knows what to do with that traffic. It's always in communication with the edge device to know which link is healthy. How do I send forward the traffic? All this is also managed through the controller, right? So we've got the management interface, which is in the controller or the orchestrator, where we manage how all these edge devices are run. Taku, if I tell you, it's a single pane of glass where you can see your 100 sites, 200 sites to see what's happening on this site. You don't need to log into every router like the old way we used to with the Cisco routers, where you need to go to the CLI, then you connect, you SSH into this router to see what's happening there. All this you can have view on a single pane of glass, right? So
maybe just if I may interject.
Yes.
Can you explain to me if it's possible to have these SD-WAN devices being merged or interconnected or linked in a network where there's already existing, say, for example, Cisco routers and firewalls? Is that possible? Because I'm looking at someone who has already invested in those Cisco routers. Are they supposed to throw them away after such an investment?
So 100%, Taku. We can work in line with whatever infrastructure which was already there. There's nothing to be thrown away. You'll see your firewalls will be there, your routers will be there. We just integrate with what is there, right? Then also the other beauty of the SD-WAN, you mentioned it earlier on. You can have 3 or 10 links sitting behind the edge router, which are taking you to the internet through various connectivity media. Your LT, your fiber, your satellites, taking you out to the internet. That is also a beauty which comes with this SD-WAN box. So moving further down, right? What are the benefits? One might ask, what are the benefits of this SD-WAN solution which we are talking about? Number one is the performance. There's improved performance. Why? What the feature that comes with these boxes is there is the link remediation, right? We've got what we call the dynamic multipath optimization, which ensures, like I was saying, the edge is always talking to the gateways to say this is the way this link is behaving. Speaking of latency, jitter, and whatnot. So this technology does some work in the background, where it is optimizing these links, remediating whatever is happening. Do we have packet loss? It does some forward error corrections. Automatic, you don't need to configure that. That is also the beauty. That's where the improved performance is coming through. There's optimized traffic flow. We are saying you can define, this is where the definition is coming through. You can define whether your Office 365 traffic has to go through your fiber link, and your YouTube traffic has to go through the satellite or your LT link. Business critical applications using the best in terms of latency or jitter, the best link which is healthy there to route your traffic. Then the next one is obviously the cost saving. With the SD-WAN technology, the old way was would have MPLS links from the branch to the HQ, then to the internet. So which are so costly also. So the cost saving part is coming in through that. It allows you to use lower cost internet connections, reducing reliance on expensive leased or dedicated lines and these MPLS links. Right. Then there's also, yes, Taku.
Yes, I want you to MPLS.
Yeah. Creates overlay tunnels to wherever you direct it to. If it's the HQ where your users or your users are going to be accessing some services, or to whichever DC sitting in an HQ or sitting in a cloud service provider, right? So yes, in essence, we are also going to dive deeper when we get to the demo and whatnot further down. Yeah, so the next one is the simplified management. I talked about the centralized control.
Sorry, guys. Sorry to interject there. There was a bit of connectivity lost. I can also confirm that some of the audience lost you for a bit. when we're talking about simplified management about 2 to 3 minutes ago. So if you can just rewind a little bit just to cover those gaps. Apologies for the interruption.
All right. Thanks, Wes.
Thanks, Wes. Yeah.
No problem.
So the simplified management is the part where I highlighted that you can get to view what's happening, even reporting, right? Wise, what's happening on your entire network, on your multi branches, right? Or even when you have one branch, you can still run SD1 because of the other benefits that comes with it. You know, I talked about the link remediations and whatnot. So the health status being improved of whatever. Like if you have packet loss on your one connection, let's say you have a fiber connection from this branch, it can be remediated to improve that. We'll get to show you that on our live demo when we get to that. So the simplified management, it's all about the centralized control, that controller where you've got visibility into all your branches and whatnot. If you want to push any configuration, you run that configuration through that controller, which brings about the other advantage, which is say there's zero touch deployment. You don't have to configure anything. All the configuration is done on the controller. All you need to do is connect the edge box to the internet. It pulls those configurations and it's up and running, which means what? You can bring a branch up in a matter of under an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, even 30 minutes, you can bring a branch up. It's just pulling from the profiles which you have configured in the controller, right? Then also increase flexibility. This is where the part I was saying, if you want to quickly come up, establish a branch, that's flexibility there. You can quickly come up with a branch. So those are the key benefits. There's a lot of benefits, but these are the key benefits that I've seen so much interest as well from myself as well. Right. So how does this work? I've been talking about this, right? We've got the controller, we've got the SD1 box or router, which can be a physical device or a virtual device. If you've got a virtual environment already in your infrastructure, you can use that to have you can create a virtual machine, then have it run the SD1 software. Then the dynamic routing, which I was talking about, is still in that controller where you are having to define how your traffic is going to be routed, how your traffic is going to traverse to get to where it wants to go to. Right, that's built on how it will work. Right, who needs SD1?
Yes.
I'm sure it's always a question. Do we need SD1? How do we qualify to need SD1? Right. So business, number one, 100% businesses with multiple offices, multi-branch sites, they need SD1. That beauty which comes with single pane of glass, manage your whole network activity. I'm sure most of the IT guys of this call will agree and attest to that. Right, so SD1, the SD1 ensures fast and reliable connections between locations, improving collaboration and communication. Right, then we've got the remote workers, Taku. If you know, as a business, you've got remote workers, you need them to connect to your systems securely. So the SD1 provides that. It provides the secure and reliable connections for employees working from home or other remote locations. Right. So further to that, Taku, also what is added there besides dynamic routing is we've talked about this cloud movement.
Yes.
This migration to the cloud. Those customers or those businesses which have already migrated to the cloud, right? They need to make sure these guys, this traffic which gets to the cloud can be accessed even without getting to the HQ. We are saying you can have resources sitting in the HQ with the DC, right? Where this tunnel we're talking of from your edge router at the branch site to the HQ, right? They're accessing those services, but not to go to the internet. Your Office 365 is sitting in the internet. So these guys at a branch level need to break out to the internet. Okay. Right. This is who needs SD1. Right. The key features. What does it come up with? I can show you can see there's a huge list there. It comes as a cloud hosted as a service. Like I was saying, the controller is sitting in the cloud. Right. The customer doesn't need a controller. The controller is already there. That's the gateway. It's already there. Right. It works with any connection type. This is where you're saying it's service provider, internet service provider agnostic. Doesn't matter which service provider you're working with. It doesn't care, or it's not determined by which technology you are using. Whether you're using your LTE or fiber, it will still suffice.
right? Then there's a security service chaining, like you asked earlier on. Do you need to take out your firewall? No, it works with all those gadgets. So security-wise, service chaining is there because also this box, Taku, from the onset comes with next generation stateful firewall features, right? So for those branches where you would have them breaking out to the HQ, you need another firewall for that. No, we're saying with this box, right? When you open a new branch, you don't need to get a firewall for that. You can implement business policies on that stateful firewall feature, which is already sitting in the SD-WAN box. Then, like I said, the hardware part, you can have it as a hardware or as a virtual machine, right? Then multi-region SD-WAN, we've got the gateways in different countries. So when you put boxes, the SD-WAN box, let's say, for example, we've got a branch in Namibia, for example. We've got a gateway in Namibia, we've got a gateway in Zimbabwe. These gateways are already talking to each other. So how does your traffic traverse? From your branch to your gateway, from the gateway to the Namibian gateway. So there is that reduction in latency in terms of getting to wherever your traffic wants to traverse. Remote user VPN support, it also comes with that. One link ISP agnostic, I've talked about that. The dynamic multipath optimization, where this whole architecture, without you doing anything, is checking the health status of each link. So it will know this link is healthy. We've got packet loss, and it will give you that, right? So we've all along, with most businesses, it's an issue of, do we have packet loss there? Is it our end? Is it the land side? Is it our service provider side? But here now we are saying customers, they've got the visibility into that. And to call your service provider and say, no, I'm seeing we've got 20% packet loss on your link. And to us, it's critical. 2% packet loss on a VoIP call, it's something else. Can't hear each other, right? Then there's application visibility. In terms of that reporting I was talking about, you get to view what applications are my users running to. Where are we mostly going to? Are we going to business critical applications, or are we always on YouTube? Or is a question, right? Then application performance monitoring, that's the same thing. So the PCI data segmentation, you can do segmentation of your traffic. You see, Taku, nowadays, gone are the days where you can't come to your office and connect to the Wi-Fi at office. Now we've got BYOT. Bring your own device. We've got a Wi-Fi for that. We've got a guest network Wi-Fi as well. So we need to segment all that. So this is what also you can do with this SD-WAN infrastructure. I've talked about the zero-touch provisioning, where you don't need to send in a technical guy or an engineer to bring up a site. An accountant can simply connect the device to the internet. It downloads the configurations. It's up and running.
I like that point. You want to turn accountants into engineers?
Yes.
Only with
Moving with the tides. So, Taku, I rest there. We can take questions, or you can take it over from here.
All right, thanks, Colin. I think, I'm loaded with a lot of questions, but I think in the interest of time, I will probably allow us to move to our next panelist. This is Wesley. But before I hand over to Wesley, I think it's quite interesting. I think if you can recall, I know Wes, you're on the line there.
I'm right here.
Yeah, we last did a webinar on SD-WAN. I think it was 3 years ago, confirm?
That's correct, yes, roughly 3 years ago.
Yes, and I think for me, I'm quite interested to learn some of the new developments that have happened within that space, and also some of your used case scenarios that you have used SD-WAN from a global point of view. I know Colin is well versed within our local market, but I think it would be also good just to learn some of these developments and insights that are happening globally from your end. So Wes, please take it over.
Perfect, thank you so much. And I appreciate the comprehensive coverage. So I'll just share a few slides of my own just to show you some of those use cases globally. Then I'll talk about the most exciting new feature, which is the on-prem security capabilities. So as Colin highlighted, the ability to do next generation firewall feature sets or content inspection directly off the edge devices. So without further ado, let me share my screen. And I'll start with slides. And then once we go through a bit of the slides, if there's time, I'd love to show you a demo, just to show you a bit of that DMPO in action, the application and service monitoring, just to give you a good feel for what it looks like. And it's not just us, telling you all these wonderful stories. So what I have in front of me is one of our key use cases, and this is a large financial institution in Nigeria. They've been with us for about, I'd say about 4 years now, and they are a large organization, a large banking organization. Their total includes 420 sites. They were migrated off of a Cisco MPLS deployment. And what's important, or what's key to understand, is that 420 site migration took place within 3 months. And that speaks to the scalability and the ability to leverage that single pane of glass that we highlighted earlier, that will hopefully show you in a demo shortly. Obviously, being a financial institution, the solution had to be fully PCI compliant. So we have our PCI segmentation there, which obviously separates the pay card information from the user data, as in the example with accounting and engineering and all of that was mentioned earlier. And we deliver this as a fully managed service. So how this translates to you is we are very tied in with Dande. So with Dande, we will offer these solutions as fully managed services to you. The other key thing to note is that this is going back to, can we work with incumbent security solutions? So they were on a Palo Alto security solution. And again, our approach was, look, you don't need to rip out your Palo Alto. You've invested in it. We will just service chain those instances seamlessly with your environment, with a VeloCloud environment, and they work seamlessly hand in hand with each other. So that's one of our key use cases in a banking environment. What I don't have on the slide, just speaking of banking, is we also have successfully deployed in banking institutions in Angola in a very similar manner as well. So rapid rollout with a fully compliant PCI solution in that region as well. Then we look at a mining company in Zambia. So this is a very interesting use case. I was very actively involved with this deployment. It was roughly a 1-month deployment where this is actually a global mining company, and Zambia was their least stable or most underperforming region when it came to connectivity and reliability of services in the telecommunications space. So because of that, I mean, they had very little to lose in terms of testing new technology. And at the time, VeloCloud, this was back in 2018. In the beginning of 2018, we piloted the solution for them. The global corporation said, look, pilot the solution. If it works well in Zambia, and if you can turn Zambia around, then it will probably work for everyone else because of their situation down there. So we did this on a fully white box solution. They have white boxes that we install the VeloCloud OVA or virtual instance on top of. And the reason for that is because they also have a security solution, a checkpoint solution that they wanted to service chain on one device. So they actually run checkpoint as a firewall solution, and they run VeloCloud. So these days you don't really need to do that anymore, and I'll explain why in one of the later slides. But again, just speaking to that ability to seamlessly integrate with an existing solution. What's interesting about this use case, and what I like to always highlight about this use case, besides the requirement for a mining industry's uptime being critical and the cost of downtime being disastrous, losing millions of dollars per minute when a site goes down or when a mine goes down, besides the redundancy and uptime, which we now thankfully can take for granted in a good SD-WAN solution, is that we're able to distribute and control the way traffic flows across this WAN environment in a very particular way, which allows us to optimize the services from remote sites. So in their case, they had multiple aggregation sites. So they had the primary and they had the secondary site, DR site. So even though it says primary and DR, it actually worked as an active aggregation platform where everything that was regionally closer to the one site would prefer that aggregation site to reconnect back to their hosted services and back into the global MPLS environment. And the reverse was true for the other sites. So if they were on the DR site, that would actually be their active site. And then they were configured, and they are still configured. I mean, they're still a customer with us today since 2018. And they are configured to fail over to each other. So if you lose one aggregation point, you always have connectivity to the other. There's multiple paths into the global MPLS environment, which is now a global VeloCloud environment. And this is all made possible thanks to the dynamic multipath optimization, but also thanks to the ability to do your traditional network capabilities as well. So it integrates with BGP to feed into the global environment. It's able to run, as we said, it's WAN provider agnostic. So this specific instance has 2 internet service providers and 2 MPLS service providers that act as the underlay. But despite all that complexity, they all manage it as one VPN through that single pane of glass. So it actually re-simplifies the solution, and the multiple providers allow for redundancy across their circuit. So should a whole provider go down, they still have routed connectivity via the other provider or via the other link mediums. Then the architecture we won't chat too much about. I mean, Collins covered this quite well. I think the main thing to understand, or the main key use case for this forum, is that we are very proud that at Dande we've got the only and the first VeloCloud gateways in Zimbabwe, which means that you already have an optimized SD-WAN architecture ready to go. The only thing you need to concern yourself with is getting the edges, and you'll have that optimized service directly and locally within your region, which again can speak to different compliance requirements. It speaks to performance. If there's any need for you to connect globally, we also have gateways all over East, West, and Southern Africa. But I think for this forum, it's important to understand that with Dande hosting those gateways for us, you've got that optimization ready to go right off the bat as we speak. Then just some of our security certifications. This is just to show you the various institutions that we are certified with as a VeloCloud solution. So these are the major ones, hopefully giving you a good indication of our coverage from not only a content inspection point of view, but from a perimeter security point of view. So yes, we're spinning up tunnels quickly and easily, and we're enhancing the performance, but are those tunnels secure? Are they encrypted end to end? And this should give you some reassurance that we have met those compliance standards. Then one of the more exciting slides is, and to speak to Taku's question earlier, like what has happened over those years, because I'm mentioning stuff in 2018 and 4 years ago. So back in the day, when around the time those customer use cases were being unpacked, VeloCloud was always a stateful and session-aware firewall. I mean, we wouldn't be able to be a successful we wouldn't be able to provide this successfully to a banking environment if the solution itself wasn't secure. So that's always been there. You've always had your session-based protection. It's all centrally driven through a single pane of glass. So your file functionality and your SD-WAN functionality all sits within one solution. And you've got templatized firewall policies that are zero trust inbound by default. So you can't, unless you've allowed traffic inbound, you can't access. It's very difficult to accidentally create breaches in your network. which again is an important thing to understand, because as we're moving to a medium or a technology where you can adopt various different link types, naturally a question, especially from your security teams, is, look, you're introducing internet links. Are you introducing additional vulnerability points when you introduce these internet links? And the answer is no, because of the built-in firewall that you are putting on site, which is the VeloCloud solution. So we actually look at the SD-WAN routers these days as fully capable firewalls and not just as SD-WAN devices. So that's always been there. And then what we've added to that is something called EFS, or Enhanced Firewall Services. And this is where you start looking at not just the perimeter security of the solution, but also the content. Now we want to look at, fine, we've secured the transport of the traffic. So what is inside my environment? What traffic am I generating from within my environment? And how can I protect my users and my network from that traffic type? And that's where all of these EFS capabilities came in. The main ones being IDS and IPS, which is signature based. URL filtering, so you can do URL filtering on-prem. And to go back to Colin's point earlier, where we said if you spin up a new site, or if you're replacing a Cisco router on site, no need to go and purchase an additional firewall and a VeloCloud device. You can just put down the VeloCloud device, and then with the EFS add-on, make it an on-prem next generation firewall device. It also has malicious IP protection, so that will give you some protection against devices trying to connect to bad websites. Maybe there's some bad scripts, or there's some bad content, maybe viruses on your endpoints that are already infected. At least you've got some protection in a reputation-based IP protection database. And how that's all possible, and we'll use the URL filtering service as a use case, is that over the years, the solution's evolved as it's gone through the VMware and Broadcom stable. And what that's meant is, if anyone out there is aware of the NSX or the VMware NSX T firewall platform, which is a fully capable virtualized firewall that usually services data center environments, that code base has now been put locally into the VeloCloud devices. And because the VeloCloud devices is all software driven and not reliant on specific hardware, that's allowed us to deliver these services without having to revamp hardware necessarily. And it just becomes a software update, much like your Windows machine going from Windows 10 to 11. If the hardware can run the software, you get all the new feature sets without necessarily having to replace your hardware as well. So what that means is, let's say you were that customer in 2018 and you now suddenly want all of these feature sets. All we need to do is activate the license and deliver the software update to you, and all those features are there. You wouldn't need to go and, unless the processing power on those units is outdated, you wouldn't necessarily need to go and refresh all your hardware. It's all processor driven. In most cases, we haven't had to replace or refresh any hardware. And all these feature sets have been delivered just with the software updates being delivered. And how it works is, going back to the story about the NSX, is locally now you've got an enhanced firewall services engine component, which is the NSX software running locally on the VeloCloud Edge device. It will maintain a database locally of whatever is defined in the VMware Threat Intelligence Cloud, and it will do a local lookup every time a query is generated. And that's important to understand, because a lot of cloud-delivered solutions sometimes inadvertently introduce latency, because it would have to go look up. You'd create a session, it first has to go and do a lookup to some cloud instance, then come back and tell you if allowed or denied, and then send you to the internet. But because we've got a local copy of that database on every single edge device, that is minimized to a large extent. And should there be a need, should in the unlikely event that maybe there's a signature or something that is unknown that you're trying to access, it will then do, for those rare instances, a real-time query to the unclassified URL in this instance, live to the threat intelligence cloud, and get a live update of what is this user trying to access. I don't have it locally, but just to be safe, I'm going to make sure I look it up. So that way you're delivering efficient services for all the common traffic types, and for any niche traffic that you don't necessarily know about, let's do a real-time query before we let it out, so all your bases are covered. So some of the features, so you have the ability to block, allow, monitor by categories. By categories, we mean gaming, social media. You don't have to manually go and enter in specific domain or URL entries. We can also do it based on reputation. So for example, you have high risk, low risk, medium risk URL reputations. We could just say allow all low risk, but block high risk and maybe monitor medium risk. So we've got those options built into the solution. And again, this is all of the same VCO that you use to interact with the SD-WAN solution. A very similar story for malicious IP filtering. So again, with a very, very similar flow, the main difference here is we are looking at an IP reputation database that gets maintained in exactly the same way, so that if anything is trying to connect to suspicious IP addresses, we will block it before DNS or any of the higher layers of traffic come into play. Because you will get some very devious applications or malware that is smart enough not to do any DNS queries just yet, and it will try and connect just by IP, and we can catch that and block that locally thanks to the malicious IP filtering. And last but not least, we can also deliver cloud-delivered UTM. So if you're interested in CASB or any cloud security services into your Azure and AWS environments, we can then give you an endpoint client that is secure, that can give you those cloud-delivered security feature sets off a client or off a SD-WAN edge device as well. So the main differentiator here is that with EFS, it will be delivered on-prem, and this will be delivered on cloud. You can run both. There is a little bit of overlap, but for most use cases, we probably just need EFS unless you've got a comprehensive public cloud environment. In that case, we would look at the Symantec solution, which is now part of Broadcom and which is now part of VMware SD-WAN or VeloCloud, and that all gets delivered as a single service to you. So that is all the latest updates. I'm going to stop sharing while I load up the demo. If there's any questions in the meantime, maybe Taco, you can field them, and I'll get the demo loaded. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Wes. I think from the screen we had a question from Kuda C, and thanks, Kuda, for participating. I think his question was pretty much, does SD-WAN work on links with the dynamic IPs, or I will need to have a static IP from my current service provider? So I think, Colin, if you don't mind, you can take that up.
Thanks for that view.
I think we lost them. We lost you a bit there, Colin.
I'm back now. Yes, Kuda, see, it does work with the DHCP. It does also work with triple PoE as well. So it can work with static IPs, DHCP, PPOEs.
Yeah,
excellent.
And the triple PoE
I hope Kuda, you have been answered. If you need further explanation.
Oh, I think we lost you guys again. We've lost audio. But I see you muted.
Wes, I think you can proceed.
Okay, thank you. So just to quickly add on to that question, so it's a brilliant question. So yes, dynamic IPs are supported. Just on the triple PoE, we do support the authentication and the dial-up locally on the device, and it's managed through the centralized software. So you wouldn't need some special modem to dial that up. We support the authentication directly off the devices themselves. So I just wanted to show you what the dashboard looks like. So this is a customer that's allowed us to share the environment. They are a multinational customer consisting of 66 sites. I am going through it very quickly because I want to leave some time for Q&A, which I think is quite important. So I'll just go through this section very quickly. So this is a 66 site solution. Of those 66 sites, we get a global view of what's connected and what's offline. And a more interesting section is the link side. So we get a global view of how many WAN links are across those 66 sites and also the status of those links. So we can see that we've got 78 stable links and 1 offline. So that's pretty good. That means, you know, as a business, our strategy for WAN link selection globally has been spot on because we only have 1 link down for the entire organization. For the entire 79 links, 1 link down is very good. Then if we click on the edges section here, we've got a nice Google Map plugin where you can very easily just distribute the edges or plot them on this map by simply plotting down the street address, or you could even put in the GPS coordinates. And you can see at a glance, this is a multinational company. They've got some presence up in Kenya, Zambia, out in Mauritius, Namibia, and then a large portion in South Africa. And again, we're all managing it off this dashboard. This dashboard is exactly what you as the end customer would see. So everything that I'm showing you, you will have access to as well. So here are all the sites. So you can see the name of each site. They've gone with a business unit and town name. You can see the status of each link. The devices do run in HA as well. So they run in active standby by default. Very easy to set them up. You just configure with ZTP the primary. You tell it needs to run in HA, and then the non-activated device, you just connect to the primary and it will push all the config and put it in standby mode. You've got your multiple links, so we do support multiple links. So here, if I just mouse over, it shows me I've got 2 stable links. It gives me the provider name and the physical port that it's plugged in. And all of this is automatically populated as soon as the device is activated. I've just clicked on a random site, and this takes us to an edge overview section. I'll just need to refresh. Sometimes my page just bombs out when I zoom in and out. Here we go. So this takes us to an edge overview section where I can get real-time stats on what's happening on this edge. So when I clicked on it, it took me to this page. On the overview section, I could see a bit more detail about those 2 providers, the public IP addresses that it's detected. So we can sit behind NAT and receive DHCP from a broadband router, and we'll detect and plot the NATed IP address. We can also do static IP addresses directly from the box, and the box itself can be the NAT device. You can see the status of those links. You can see that DMPO also detects the bandwidth throughput of each link. So you can see we've got a 200 meg up and down link and a 100 meg up and down link. And you can see these numbers moving in real time. That's DMPO giving you real-time visibility of how traffic is being load balanced across those links. So we can verify without a doubt that we are load balancing active in both upstream and downstream directions across those links. And I can see that I'm downloading more on the one link and I'm uploading more on the other link, but that's jumping around. Then if I go to the QoE section, this is VeloCloud's quality of experience section. This is the most important section to understand DMPO and that dynamic multipath optimization and how it's working to automatically address any issues on those links. So this is on a 12-hour average. So what happens is each WAN link gets a VQS or a VeloCloud quality score out of 10. It then gives you after its optimizations, it then gives you a score out of 10 to show you what the users are experiencing. So you can see there's some issues on the links, but the users don't feel that at all. And that's on a 12-hour period. Let's zoom this out to, let's say, 2 weeks. Let's see how this site has been performing for 2 weeks. So just very easily, quick and easy. I've just clicked on that drop-down arrow, gone to 2 weeks. It jumps there for me. And I can see that this is a relatively healthy site. So the links are doing well, performing at 9 out of 10, almost perfect 10 out of 10. But there are some times where there are some issues on the links. And even then, VeloCloud still maintains, I've zoomed in too much because it's 5-minute intervals, but even then, it still maintains a perfect score and protects that environment. If you look at a site with a single link, because you go, okay, great, what happens if I have a single link? We can also optimize on single links as well. So you could see there is improvement. If we extend this out to 2 weeks, we can see there's a consistent improvement over that 2-week average, even though there's only one link. So just by adding in the VeloCloud device, you still get that protection. So let's try and unpack how that all works. So if I go to QoE and I mouse over these sections, you can see there, it actually tells me that it's picked up jitter. It's measured the jitter and the direction. So it sees downstream jitter measured at 30 milliseconds. And it's automatically enabled the correct remediation methodology for that issue. So in this case, to fix jitter, it knows that it needs to apply jitter buffering. So it tells you there, I've done this. So by the time you look at this pop-up, the action's already happened. So I don't need to look at this and go and react. This is proactive remediation, meaning I don't have to set up complicated SLAs. I don't have to set up policy-based routing. I don't have to create rules that define how certain applications should behave. I can do that if I want to. I can override the default behavior, but thanks to VeloCloud's smart default system and the DMPO working hand in hand, I can understand the application types because I've got deep application recognition. I can understand based on that, I've got a full quasi system built in. Based on those applications that I can recognize, I know what level of SLA they have by default, just by the nature of the application. And I know how my links are performing based on my DMPO monitoring those links. And because I know all of that, I don't need to wait for input from an engineer to tell me how I should treat or protect that traffic. I can do that automatically for you. And that is the key differentiator. That's what sets VeloCloud apart from almost any other SD-WAN solution out there, is that it's a very powerful but very autonomous optimization system right off the bat. As soon as you activate it, this is what the software will do for you. Obviously, you can also override these behaviors should you have a very specific need, and we enable you to do that. And with Dande, we can help you understand and optimize specifically for your needs. So if there's specific applications you want to define that's not in the application library, we can build those in. It allows us to very easily define those, and they will be treated as new application signatures specific for your organization as well. So I want to look for more examples. So here, mostly jitter being experienced. I want to see if we can pick up. So for latency, it will pick up the latency, and it will actually do dynamic link steering for any latency sensitive applications. If there's any packet loss, like here, you see it detects the packet loss, and then again, it applies the correct or the most applicable remediation methodology. So for packet loss, we want forward error correction in the form of packet duplication to protect that link from, or to protect the traffic from perceiving any of that fault effect of packet loss. So it activates it, and as once the issue goes away, it deactivates it. So yes, packet duplication becomes very bandwidth hungry because now I'm sending packets over 2 links, and if I had 3 links, it would send it over 3 links. So very quickly, with packet duplication and forward error correction, you can consume bandwidth, excess bandwidth unnecessarily. And that's something other vendors won't necessarily tell you. They will be very quick to say, look, we can also do forward error correction. But a lot of the times, their forward error correction is an on-off thing. It's always on or it's always off. There's no conditions-based forward error correction. And when there is, again, it relies on a lot of manual configuration up front before you get it working. Another key differentiator is that this all works out the box. It is secure, it's zero trust, and you can start routing and get all this analytics without having tedious interface zone configurations, without having to set up complex routing, without having to statically define IP addresses. Out the box, it works as a NAT router. It's ready to receive DHCP address on its WAN side, and it's ready to distribute DHCP IP addresses on its LAN side, allowing very, very quick and rapid deployment. So I'm mentioning all of this because we mentioned that we had that 420 site bank rollout, and part of why we could do it within 3 months is because of all these systems that are built into the solution. The other key thing is that we can build your entire architecture in this platform before you ever receive any hardware devices, meaning as soon as hardware devices arrive, you just need to plug them in, have them connect to the cloud, and all the configs start getting downloaded. And again, that speaks to how we're able to rapidly deploy large sites in such a short time, because we will sit with your architects, with your engineers, and help you design and define the solution and build it out autonomously on the cloud before a device ever arrives on your site. Then we have some of the application analytics that we spoke about earlier, just showing you the visibility of the environment. So we're looking at Cape Town, the head office, and we can see all sorts of traffic types at the bottom here. Just at a glance, this looks like a very healthy site, very business related devices or traffic types. Facebook maybe not so much, but everything else is business management, network services, business applications, and so on. If I go to a different site and we go to the application section, something slightly different. So now we can see more WhatsApp, more Facebook, X videos, more suspicious traffic types going on here. And if I actually click on this, like this X videos, who is generating that traffic? I can see the devices, I can see the domains they're going through. And thanks to the EFS and the business policy integration, I can either block outright, I can monitor, I can flag. I can also shape to a percentile. So let's say, for example, Facebook, you don't want to block Facebook, but you don't want it consuming all the bandwidth on your link. You can either force it down a specific link, like a backup only link, and it has no failover. So if that link goes down, you lose Facebook, but all your other application types can failover. You could set it to 10% or a percentile of links. This is, again, something that I'm yet to hear of another vendor being able to do, is percentile-based shaping or policing, actually, where I can define traffic at a percentage, and VeloCloud, because it understands automatically understands the size of the links, it will adjust the policies accordingly, meaning as an organization, I can roll out one rule that says Facebook only uses 10% of my traffic everywhere. And if I later on upgrade or downgrade links at sites, I don't have to go back and change that policy. Never mind on other technologies having to go and change the policy on every single site that you've done that. You now have a policy that scales and adjusts automatically with your environment. As your environment evolves and changes, and you add more sites and you add more bandwidth, your policy, your general rule set will very rarely change in those instances. And that brings me to another key point. You want to add and remove WAN links. unless it's a static IP address, and in which case you just have to define the static IP address. Adding and removing WAN links doesn't mean you have to go redefine policy-based routing. Doesn't mean you have to go and redefine your security rule sets. They will automatically adapt as you add and remove WAN links simply by plugging and unplugging or connecting or disconnecting WAN instances. And that's the SD-WAN side of it. I just very quickly wanted to also touch on the security capabilities. So just to show you some of those firewall capabilities as well. So we can define global security policies underneath our firewall section over here. That sits as a global service. And this is where we can do the URL by category, by reputation, by malicious IP, and enable IDS and IPS. So very quickly, you can see we can block social networking. We can allow everything else. So I'm not sure why we're allowing hacking, but we can also monitor. If we don't necessarily want to block, but we just want to monitor an environment, we can do that. So in this example, we blocking social networking in games. We can also define by reputation. So there's the risk profile. And then based on that risk profile, we can make decisions. Malicious IP is very simple. It's just either do you want to monitor and do you want to block it? And then we'll apply it at a later stage. IDS and IPS, also very simple. We just tick them, we just allow it on or off. And do you want log entries for this, yes or no? And then under our security services group, this is where we create one global policy that then applies all these rule sets. So this policy says, I want to use the URL category feature. I want to use the URL reputation feature. I also want to use the malicious IP feature and IPS. So I want it all. And then that gets applied globally. And then you'd go to your edge profile and then just apply it to your firewall rule sets and say, under my firewall rule sets, I would like that policy, please, to be applied. And it's very simple. I just apply it and off I go. Then under the monitoring section, this is where we can see some of the stats. So we can see the threats. We can see how many actions and hits have been applied. So we can select a specific edge. On that specific edge, we can get some high-level stats on what's happened, whether we've blocked, whether we've detected anything. We can also look at, we can also drill down into specific application signature hits. Same thing for URL reputation, what's been blocked, what's been allowed, what's been monitored. And then for our malicious IP, get our reporting there as well. And then we can also deep dive into the firewall logs and actually look at specific events in very granular detail. Like I want to see exactly what's happened at a specific time. So you've also got your full audit trail there as well. So I could see in the log overview, I could see the segment I belong to, the edge that this has been triggered on, the session ID, and all those important stats that are relevant for that particular event. So that's been the demo and a bit of the, hopefully a bit of the exciting features, new updates, besides the optimization that's been very successful for quite a long time. I hope that gives you a good understanding of the solution and what we can do for you, not only from a WAN optimization perspective, but also from an on-prem and cloud-prem point of view as well. So thank you. That's my segment. It's nice to have all 117 of you on the call. And thank you. I'll hand back to Taku now.
Thanks, Simon, for such an thanks, Wes, for such an insightful presentation. I'm now thinking about your colleague. I think
no problem.
Yeah, I think this was quite good. I like the part where you spoke about the security the most. I think part of the conversations that we were having this side with some of our clients was just the issue to do with security, and I'm sure you really covered that pretty well. So thanks for that, Wes. So there's a question there. I think I will probably hand this question over to you, Wes. It's a bit interesting. I'll go through it, and I'm sure there's also someone who wants to know the answer to that question. So
Okay,
this question
sure.
it's coming from Ronald. He's saying SD-WAN supports multiple branch setups. However, our organization is located across Zimbabwe with an HQ in Harare. The only difference is all other branches use smartphones to connect to our web application, and we do not have central management of these devices since they use other networks like Econet, Net1, which is like an MNO from the side. So I'm thinking his question there is he wants to know how best can we assist using SD-WAN.
So that's a good question, and I like it. It's a very interesting use case. But the solution is quite simple. We would give you the SD-WAN client. The SD-WAN client can run on most endpoint solutions. So it can run on Android, iOS, Windows, Mac OS, and certain the common distros of Linux. So that SD client has something called traffic optimization on it, which will then talk to the gateways, and it will find the best optimized path across an environment back into your VPN environment. So in a very similar manner to DMPO's path quality selection criteria, you can have the same thing on a client. So it's just a little client that you install, and then you manage it off the same dashboard that you saw earlier.
Okay, I think that sounds beautiful. It shows that everything is possible with technology. Maybe what I would do, if there's someone who's itching to ask us a question, I think you can raise your hand. I'll try and get the guys to unmute you, and then we can probably take one or two questions. We still have some 2 minutes left before we conclude our webinar. So just checking if there are any questions or even comments. Maybe whilst you're thinking, what I can also say is that if you are interested in this solution, please feel free to engage us, drop us, I think, an email. I think we are ready to give you a POC. And to those who are not quite sure, we are also prepared to have a one-on-one meeting outside the webinar where we can further explain and show the benefits of SD-WAN. Okay, I see a question there from O'Brien, if I got that right. You are saying here, what is the major difference between SD-WAN solution and VPN solutions? Colin, would you like to take that?
Yes, that's fine, Taku. So I'm sure, thanks, O'Brien. I'm sure on the presentation you saw when we said even this SD-WAN solution can work with your VPN tunnels from a branch to branch setup. So it works with that, but it has additional features. The DMPO, the link remediation we're talking about, it comes with those extras. You can get to work with broadband connections, right, which probably are cheaper from a cost perspective. But it's the feature mainly which comes with the SD-WAN solution. Yeah.
Thanks. I don't know, Wes, if you want to weigh in on that.
Yeah, so it depends, sure. So it depends what you mean by VPN. I mean, there's multiple types of VPN. Are we talking layer 3 VPN, WAN? We're talking remote access VPN. Are we talking site-to-site or point-to-point VPN? But SD-WAN in and of itself is a VPN solution. It replaces, or it is an answer to an L3 WAN VPN. So if you look at MPLS is also an L3 WAN VPN. It secures your customer's WAN environment. What SD-WAN does at my extension, the SD client, is it extends that L3 WAN VPN all the way to your edge and all the way to your endpoint itself. So the perimeter can be your phone, or it can be the device on site. It's all secured with all those features that we mentioned earlier. So it really just depends what you mean by VPN solution. I'm assuming remote access, which is where we can apply the SD client to. And it will work in conjunction with your branch VPN, your edge devices.
All right. Thanks, Wes, for that. There's another one here coming through from Pearson. He's saying, can you please explain further on how failover is achieved? Maybe
Sure.
you can just visit that.
Sure. So DMPO is monitoring the links, right? It's monitoring uptime and it's monitoring the quality of those links. So how much packet loss, jitter, and latency are on those links in real time. So at any given moment, it knows exactly on a sub-second basis whether I need to fail over or not, because it always knows what the links are doing. Should a link go down, it will automatically and seamlessly fail over. It's got something called VRP, or VeloCloud Routing Protocol, that runs across the WAN, that runs over the DMPO, or there's another acronym, which is the VCMP tunnels. The DMPO is the algorithm, and VCMP, VeloCloud Multipath or Multi-Protocol tunnels, are the actual tunnels that VeloCloud forms. Those tunnels are automatically being routed with something called VRP. It creates a centralized routing environment, just like an MPLS VRF would. And it will understand how what routes are available, what's up and down, and over which path. So should you lose an edge or a physical link, that WAN environment gets updated automatically with those changes. So again, it depends what you mean by failover. Like we also run HA. So if one device goes down, there's a heartbeat connection between that and another device. And as soon as and those thresholds are configurable, but it's also sub-second. As soon as the primary goes down, the secondary will take over. It's got, it uses shared layer 2 attributes to achieve that. The delay timers are configurable, so you could have HA in 2 different DC environments if you really wanted to. If you're talking about WAN link failover, then DMPO is taking care of that seamlessly because it's aware of the links and it automatically will shift traffic across to the next link. That, again, is going back to the smart defaults that we spoke about, where it says, look, I've got a latency sensitive link. So besides failover, we can also do, besides hard failovers where a link goes down, we're also doing soft failovers constantly. Like, let's say there's a spike in latency. That doesn't mean the link's down, but you need to fail over traffic that's latency sensitive. So it will do that as well because of those smart defaults in the DMPO algorithm. So I hope that answers your question. Also very broad, what depends what you mean by failover, but hopefully I've touched on all those broad aspects for you.
All right. Thanks, Wes, for that. I hope, Pearson, you've been answered.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so I think to our viewers online, if you still have any questions or you want to further understand this SD-WAN solution that we were discussing, please feel free to drop us an email on sales@dandemutande.africa. I'll repeat that again, sales@dandemutande.africa. We are more than prepared to come through and do a presentation or even to set you up for a free POC. I know people love things that are for free. So, Colin, I'm sure we can do that for clients. Yes, so we'll do a free POC just to prove that this solution does deliver, is what we've discussed. So, colleagues, I think it's been an exciting webinar. It's been an exciting discussion. I think for me, as someone who's not technical, from a sales point of view, I think I've got some 2 or 3 pointers that I've taken note from this presentation. I think the first thing that I've learned here is you don't need to be on Dandemutande infrastructure for you to get this SD-WAN solution from us. So all those who think that they are not on Dande, we are able to actually deliver this solution to you. And then another point that I also picked is the fact to do with cost reduction, which I think is very pertinent, especially given the environment that we are operating in. So I think that's also a very good point when you're pitching this solution to our superiors. The moment we discuss cost reduction, I'm sure it's going to be an easy conversation. Then, of course, last but not least, the issue to do with link remediation. I think for me, from a sales point of view, I think that's a very good point where some of us are struggling with non-performing or poor performing links. We are able to actually solve those links by incorporating SD-WAN solution into the topology of our network. So, colleagues, thank you very much for this time that you have given us and joining us on this webinar. To Colin and Wes, thank you very much for participating.
Thanks, Taco.
Wes, thank you very
Taco.
much.
No problem.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure.
Definitely, definitely. And I look forward to further engagements and further presentations like these ones. So colleagues, it's bye for now, and thank you very much for joining.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Cheers, bye.